Gayatri Mahamantra with your back straight, both hands on your lap, left beneath the right, contemplative mood. Om Bhuri Bhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Mystical Gayatri Mahamantra we touch under the series part number 8. Let us today understand about the necessary warm-up which is prescribed before Gayatri Upasana. The warm-up word may sound slightly typical and peculiar when it comes to Gayatri sadhana, the Mahamantra sadhana. But yes, it has a very meaningful purpose. Maybe that the word deployed warm-up may not be that befitting, but it shall be able to convey its essence to you. There are few kriyas, few acts that we perform before we directly start our Gayatri Upasana. The japa. Upasana, japa. Though it is not mandatory for the beginners to learn and start these kriya, these exercises, these acts, but for those who are serious to pursue their sadhana further, these small acts, small activities understood as kriya make a meaningful difference to the sadhak. Now let us understand precisely what are those kriya. We may not be able to complete them in one episode of the series, but yes, the mentioning will start from here onwards. The objective of this kriya is to interiorize the sadhak in the form of a withdrawal. Generally, when we sit down for our japa, upasana, our awareness is not consolidated to that moment. Our awareness is scattered, fragmented into different portions. Our awareness is apportioned to different kind of assignments which knowingly, unknowingly are being dispensed through us. Now, it is the moment for us to embark upon a spiritual pursuit of the highest order. So it necessitates that we gather our entire existence, our entire awareness to this moment and enjoin it inextricably to the ongoing flow of the japa or the events from here onward. So that it may not happen that mechanically we go on performing the japa and otherwise in actual the mind starts traveling upon its own wanderings. Although this is going to happen time and again because the nature of the mind cannot be brought into discipline so early. But yet there have to be techniques that must be used, must be practiced, which to a certain extent ensure to a seeker that the moment when you sit down for your sadhana, for your spiritual observation, at that point of time, at least you're gathered. It may happen that after a period of 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you may start wandering within upon unmindful certain voyage which probably you have never planned before. So wandering of the mind has no boundaries, it has no limits. But at least when you sit down, you are one, you are consolidated, your entirety is available at that moment. Now, all these kriyas, they facilitate through few observations the significance of our absolute availability at that moment. Before we come down to the exercises, keep one thing in your mind. These kriyas or exercises or acts, I may use different synonym to convey the same thing. This kriya, maybe traditionally through the Sanskrit shlokas. But that does not mean that if you are not aware of the words of the Sanskrit shloka, you cannot practice those kriyas. It's not like that. The purpose is to understand, absorb, and conduct the meaning, the purpose of any such kriya. Each kriya has a specific purpose to accomplish. Unless that is accomplished, it is going to be merely a chant without a purpose. So, if you do not know the Sanskrit shloka, if you're not versed to practice that at this moment, it's really not going to matter at all. So you should start the significance behind that particular kriya and start contemplating it within yourself as observing that what all it wants to accomplish is ongoing within you. So that shall suffice in the beginning. Later onwards, if you may choose, then you may also try to learn the shloka of each corresponding kriya. I'm going slow. I'm going slow deliberately so that you can travel along with me together at your ease. Now, under the aspects of the kriya, the first kriya which we accomplish is about purification. Before I come down to the kriya, let me once again, bring in some more information about the purpose of kriya. Why do we need the kriya? What is the need to bring them as sort of a warm-up exercise before the japa? Withdrawal. As I started right at the outset, the purpose is the withdrawal from all dispensations of the mind wherever you are. Even in Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, there is a term that they use before dhyan, meditation, which is known as pratyahar. Pratyahar means withdrawal. Withdrawal of your senses inwards, the senses which otherwise want to conduct each and every business of their own domain outwardly, and even if inward, that business somewhere concerns the life outside. Even if you are undergoing imagination, that purpose of imagination, subject of imagination corresponds to the world outside. In a way, it is the control of your sensory organs trying to absorb their functionality within your awareness so that the sensory organs do not run outward on unmindful chatter. So the purpose is to withdraw. This is pratyahar. These kriyas, they draw us inward so that we get immersed into the Gayatri Japa, especially during those moments when an exalted manifestation of this Brahma Vidya Gayatri is transpiring within us. In other words, we open up our deepest ends to welcome this incoming energy as a result of our japa, which is the outcome of our japa. The first kriya that we accomplish is purification, known as pavitri karanam. The idea is to purify ourselves within and without. We understand that we are now going to undergo a very serious spiritual pursuit of a higher order, wherein we should make ourselves with all pure, pious, and sanctity that has to be observed within. So we try to raise the level of our awareness to its highest ends. And for that, we first of all purify ourselves. We are now going to invoke a divine energy, a divine power. So for that, purity is foremost. It may not happen that any contamination of our thought, imagination, desire, ego, or a past recall may intervene to contaminate that incoming divine flow of energy. So removal of any and every sort of a contamination is mandatory. So that is why we say this Pavitrikaranam. Pavitrikaranam or purification is like sanitizing your mind, all the instruments of your mind along with your body. Primarily, you have to sanitize your sensory drivers because when they propel outward or even inward, they take you to unmindful journeys. So, your sensory drivers have to be purified, they have to be sanitized. So, it is an exercise to sanitize yourself in entirety at the end of your sensorial organs. So, to sanitize yourself, what do? You take the help of water. Water is one of the Panch Mahabhutas, an element which is now well recognized to have its own independent memory. Water has the capacity to absorb the emotion of its subject, and according to the emotion which is cast upon the water, it undergoes a change in its own constitution. And we have number of experiments that have come before us in the past few decades that yes, water undergoes a change in accordance to the emotion which is cast upon it. So it is not merely H2O, it is something more than that, which is also reflected in its molecular bonding when some emotion is cast upon to that. So we make use of the water here as the intermediary in order to dispense the objective that we seek. Now, the foremost is Pavitrikaranam, purification, sanitization of all of your sensory drivers and your entire constitution. So, what do? At the foremost, we take some water into our left hand and then we cover it as a lid by the right hand. The purpose is to enjoin the energy of both the hands and convey it to the water. And the observation during those moments through the verse is Om Pavitraha Pavitro Va Sarvavasthangatyopi Va Yah Samrita Pundari Kaksham Sava Abhayantara Shuchi Om Punatu Pundari Kaksha Punatu Pundari Kaksha Punatu. Punatu is sort of a reiteration, it's an insistence. Now, what does it convey? It conveys the words of the mantra convey to the Lord that beholds the manifestation, this creation in its respective form. One who beholds the entire maintenance, the sthiti of this particular creation, of this creation, entire creation, which is Narayana, the one who has eyes so beautiful and large like the petals of a lotus, lotus-eyed, Kamalanayanam, Pundarikaksha. So we say, O the Lord, the one who bears those beautiful eyes like the lotus flowers, purify me at all ends, within and without. For I am unaware. Apavitra, pavitro. I am unaware whether I am pure or impure, at what end I really don't know. I am unaware about my true state at this moment. So I seek your direct intervention to come and purify me. I recall thee to purify me, for now I prepare to enter this process to manifest the divine energy of Gayatri. So the mantra conveys primarily the aspects pertaining to purification, divine energy invoked into that water to come and purify you. This blissful observation takes your awareness to a higher order. Then, after that water is charged with this observation, then you sprinkle that water upon yourself. And punatu, again and again, is a reiteration, it's an insistence that you have to come and purify me. For I understand the importance of purity within myself. It has to be enshrined into me so that I am the rightful practitioner, sadhak, who can invoke this divine energy through my Gayatri Mahamantra japa. So, this is how you align your scattered mind, you bring them to it to one particular point which is at the moment ongoing within you. You consolidate your awareness, you raise the level of your awareness to a more sanctified level. Now, the second kriya that we start immediately after the purification as the first one is now to observe. We all are under problems. As human, we all hold a kind of a shortfall in our own lives, which may correspond to three areas. The pain that a human may suffer can be classified according to the ancient Indian wisdom into three types. There is no fourth type. You may go on to contemplate even after the program. You can recall and you can contemplate at your own end. Those three type of pain that a human suffer are known as abhav, agyan, ashakti. Abhav means deprivation. Agyan means ignorance. Ashakti means inability. Any pain which a human may confront in its life of any form, which may have thousands of its forms, shall ultimately correspond to one of these classification. Either it shall be a kind of a deprivation of its own kind, or an ignorance of its own type, or an inability in its own manner. Whatever it may be, it cannot be any fourth classification. You go on contemplating, they all shall be summed up within these three. So, it may not happen that when you are practicing your Gayatri Mahamantra japa, any pain which is there present in your life may not surface and project its larger face before you, and it casts a veil so that you cannot give yourself 100% to the ongoing practice. You are required to focus upon your japa. You are required to be present there. And instead of being present there, if you start contemplating and undergoing all kind of imagination that pertain to your kind of pain, what will happen? You shall be bereft of assigning your 100% awareness to that ongoing spiritual observation, that is the japa. So therefore, while you sit down for this japa, for this spiritual observation, you first of all convey to your own self, in the presence of the divine presence, in the presence of divine presence, I'm using the word presence twice to emphasize this, that I am right now sitting with all conclusiveness and completeness. I am not sitting down for this observation of japa. My mind is settled. I may be having my own kind of pain in my life. I know that. I'm aware of that. I'm not that I'm oblivion of that. No, I know that. But I don't want that pain which I am suffering at this moment to come and infringe into my practice. I want to remain 100% focused. Because unless I'm focused, I shall not be able to gather the kind of energy which I require to cherish my pursuit in my life or to eliminate the kind of pain I'm suffering. So, in order to gain maximum amount of energy out of this Gayatri Japa, I must assign myself 100%. And for that, I convey myself that no, at the moment in the divine presence, you are not in any kind of inconclusiveness. You are in your completeness. So, with your completeness, offer your entirety to this observation of Gayatri Japa. So it is like the right foot, the first foot is with completeness. It's not like that you have the begging bowl stretched right before you, so that the begging bowl is so large that you are not able to even allow anything to be sighted. Your Everything should be clear before you. So keep the bowl away and merely concentrate upon what you are supposed to be doing at this moment. So, how do we do that? So, we undergo a kriya again through the water because water has that potential to bear the memory, isn't it? So, we again, what do? We do this exercise three times, thrice. We take the water in our right hand, we chant the mantra, then we intake the water once, then again twice, thrice. So this is Achmanam. And in the Achmanam, what do we do? What are those three things that we try to charge the water and intake? They are those aspects, those powers that eliminate deprivation, ignorance, and inability. So in the seed form, they are known as ring, power of ring, power of shring, power of cling. The one which gives you abundance of resources. The one that gives you knowledge, brings to the light of knowledge. The one that gives you enormity of strength. So all these three, one by one, you go on chanting each mantra. Or if you don't want to chant the mantra, you can just observe that now I'm going to absorb the power of knowledge and drink it. Now I'm going to absorb the power of wisdom, knowledge, drink it. Now I'm going to absorb the power of strength, drink it. And remember, in those three respective mantras in shloka, each one has got the last word as swaha. Om amrito pastanamasi swaha. Om amrita pidhanamasi swaha. Om satyam yasha shriramai shririshvaitam swaha. Swaha is the last concluding word. What does it mean? Swaha means the completeness. Swaha in Hindi means something which is sukha. The sukha has to be understood. It's a blissful state of completeness, conclusiveness, of accomplishment, where there is no room, there is no scope left for any deprivation, ignorance, or inability. That is swaha. Even in Gayatri Mahamantra, this bhur bhuvaha swaha. It means sukh swarupa, blissful joy of accomplishment, of completeness. So you convey yourself that now I am complete with this ability, this power of knowledge, the power of strength, the power of resources. So I am complete. And with complete individuality, now I am mark my 100% for my spiritual observation of Gayatri Japa. So this is this second one, in which you intake three times little water into your right hand, 1, 2, and 3, to eliminate inability, ignorance, and deprivation. So these are the two kriyas that you accomplish before starting Gayatri Japa. There are very few more of them, which probably I would be taking up the next episode. But remember one thing, and that is these observations are necessary. And they're necessary for those who really want to ensure that they are present right at that moment when they start their Gayatri Japa. Initially, as I started this particular episode, maybe not for the beginners. Beginners should be at their ease to, first of all, adapt to their sitting posture, the moving of the mantra within, the chanting of the mantra, and at the same time, they're practicing with the rosary to handle the rosary, and few complaints about the same time and same place. But for those who have now stepped a little further, they are required to perform these kinds of observations. And remember, these observations have to be observed like a scientist. A scientist any scientist would not behave in their home or at other places like they behave when they are entering into the laboratory. When they enter in the laboratory, they become a different individuality. They sanitize themselves. They wear a different garb. It's absolutely different to what they generally appear to be in the world outside or at their home. Likewise, you too are a scientist in the domain of consciousness, going to now conduct a research, a deep probe within your own physical dimension wherein exists your consciousness. So you turn your own body, your own physical dimension as a laboratory. You go inside this laboratory fully sanitized in your own garb and a different state of mindset so that you can draw, you can gather the optimum levels of the outcome. So this kriya is a mandation for a sadhak and but not a mandation for a beginner. Have that in mind. More to come in the next episode under Saturday's Sattva series next Saturday, 7:30 p.m. according to the Indian Standard Time. Till then, Om Hi Satya Hai, Om Hi Satya Hai, Om Hi Satya Hai.